Welcome to Off the Page. I'm Will Cain, and I'm with Bob Costa. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Will. Great to see you.
So, Bob, there was a lot of semifinals last night, a lot of primaries, but there was one final, and Republicans have to be feeling a little bit of disappointment this morning as Democrat Mark Critz, right? Is it Mark Critz? Beat Tim Burns in the Pennsylvania 12 congressional election to replace John Murtha's seat. I think Republicans are feeling pretty disappointed this morning?
Very disappointed. You talk to national operatives, you talk to Keystone State operatives, the mood is sour, disappointed here in Pennsylvania. Because as much as it's nice to see Specter have his own problems with Joe Sestak in the Democratic Senate primary, PA 12, Mark Critz, the Democrat, former Murtha aide, versus Tim Burns, a local businessman. That was the race everyone was really watching to see if it could be a bellwether for November.
Yeah, but how
all the way? That's big news.
How much hope did Republicans and Tim Burns really have to take this seat? Look, it is a district that has swung both ways. In fact, the district voted for McCain in the last presidential election, but it's been held by Murtha and a Democrat for a long time. Was there a realistic possibility for Burns and Republicans to take this seat?
Look, I think this race was always overhyped from the beginning. I wrote a story about it for NRO a few weeks ago, and I called it Tim Burns' Hail Mary Pass. A lot of famous quarterbacks came out of Western Pennsylvania, Joe Montana for one, and Tim Burns was really trying to do something that I thought was a political Hail Mary. Though a lot of Republicans thought this district was very winnable because Barack Obama didn't do well here in 2008. At the same time, this is a district that has just been ladled cash for decades, and thanks to the late Representative Jack Murtha, who was head of the Appropriations Committee in Congress. And Jack Murtha's legacy was one of the most undervalued narratives, stories coming out of PA 12. His legacy is still strong in this district. And for someone who's relatively a political unknown like Tim Burns, a local businessman, Tea Party guy, running for Congress, to go up against a Murtha aide in a district that just still loves Murtha. Really, there's a lot of passion there for him, and what he brought to Johnstown, what he brought to Western Pennsylvania, is tough. And so Critz was able to run against Pelosi in a way, didn't really align himself with the health care bill, tried to run an independent campaign, even though he was a Washington aide, an aide to Jack Murtha. But Tim Burns, running against the Murtha legacy, it shows, Will, that all politics is still local.
Bob, there's been a lot of talk of a sweep of Democratic lawmakers in these coming November midterm elections. Do you think this should quell some of the fears among Democrats and make Republicans not feel so confident that that prospect is going to come to fruition?
Yes and no. One reason not is because in PA 12, you also had some internal GOP strife. Bill Russell was running against Tim Burns in the GOP primary there for the November election. And so there was a lot of on-the-ground problems. You didn't have a unified GOP front going against Mark Critz, and that really hurt. So I think that actually when Tim Burns runs against Mark Critz this November, Tim Burns could do a little better because Bill Russell won't be on the ballot. There won't be such problems and infighting within the GOP in PA 12. At the same time, if you're a GOP operative, you're a GOP candidate across the country, you have to have some reservations when you look at PA 12. It shows that just running against Washington can't always work in a district that either has strong Washington pork barrel ties or is not that incensed about Nancy Pelosi and President Obama. Now, the ratings for President Obama in PA 12 were very low. His popularity was not good. It was in the 30s and 40s throughout the entire campaign. So you're seeing that even if President Obama's unpopular, a Democrat can still win. So you can't just run against Washington. And that's part of the message, I think, coming out of PA 12 for Republicans. You have to be able to craft and articulate a local message at the same time while tapping into that frustration.
And we should say there's also a built-in advantage for the Democrats. I'm not trying to make excuses
here.
That's
sure.
There was a Pennsylvania senatorial Democratic primary at the top of the ticket that got voters out. But
look, that's a huge point, Will, because Tom Corbett, the gubernatorial nominee for the Republicans, and Pat Toomey, the Senate nominee, those were races that were already decided. They didn't have much competition that was really serious. So the turnout was much lower. Turnout was low throughout Pennsylvania regardless, but especially with the GOP versus the Democrats. By hundreds of thousands of votes, the Democrats had more people out. So on a rainy, dreary day across Pennsylvania, in a day where Republicans didn't really feel the need to come out, PA 12 has some lessons, but it's not indicative for either side of being the story of how things will pan out in November.
Okay. That is Bob Costa. He's from his home in Pennsylvania, the home of both of these elections, Specter versus Sestak and PA 12, and he's also home on National Review, where you guys can find him all the time. I'm Will Cain. You can follow me on Twitter at Will Cain. Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Will. Just so you know, that Specter sign, we put it up for a little color. I don't hang Specter signs in my house.
Yeah, you need to answer for that, buddy.
Thanks, Will.